Hello all, JT here. This is edition number 3 of the Regen Library and our first installment written by user Minimal Gravitas from Ethfinance, a subreddit focused on all things Ethereum as well as being a contributor within the EVMavericks DAO. Today's entry into the Regen Library is titled, What It Means to Win. Winning, as you'll listen to, isn't all about the money. As we all know in crypto, winning is so much more than that. Always has been. As always, Regen Library content does not necessarily reflect the exact views of GreenPill, but the content is a pretty good conversation primer. Enjoy. A lot of people think on much too small of a scale. This isn't just another investment. It has a very real possibility to completely replace the current financial system. If we play our cards right, investing in and educating people on projects that are based on values like true decentralization, rather than just chasing short-term profits, then maybe we've got a chance to avoid the ridiculous wealth disparity and environmental collapse that the legacy economy is barreling us towards. If you want to see how it could play out, there's a great novel by Kim Stanley Robinson called Ministry for the Future. In it, one of the key components in saving the biosphere from global warming is a complete overhaul of the financial world through a cryptocurrency called Carbon Coin. It basically replaces the legacy financial world through just being a more reliable investment than anything else. Money flows into it, and the central banks, despite years of resistance, eventually have pretty much no option but to adopt it. By far, the biggest segment of the global economy is referred to under the umbrella of derivatives, and is estimated to be worth in the order of $550 trillion globally. Everything else, from money in your pocket, invested in bank accounts, real estate, debt, everything amounts to about $350 trillion. But disregard all that for a minute, and let's just look at derivatives. The crypto equivalent to this market sector is DeFi. Liquidity pools on Uniswap, yield farming on SushiSwap, put and call options on Open, perpetuals on DYDX, synthetic assets on Synthetics, etc., etc. The total value of DeFi has grown to about $200 billion today. If its growth continues, it will be worth more than all tangible currency, coins, and notes in the entire world in a year or two. If its increases continue, then by 2030, it could be worth more than the everything except derivatives section of the current global economy, and in the same order of magnitude as fiat world derivatives. While I don't think that timescale is necessarily realistic, I do think that if investors see the returns that are possible in DeFi, the innovative products available, and the permissionless, frictionless way value can move around, it's in no way implausible to see really huge amounts of money flow into the system. Once governments and tax authorities realize that every transaction can be tracked across the blockchain, I think a lot of their strongest objections will fade away, especially once they also realize that there's no real way to stop dApps running on a truly decentralized blockchain. At some point in the movement of wealth from the legacy financial world, we'll cross a threshold whereby crypto has more economic power than the fiat system. If we've built it well enough to resist control by banks and governments, I can envision steps whereby public goods funding from the blockchain-based DAOs fund more infrastructure than taxes. Quadratic voting on issues you care about replaces representative democracy with a more direct version. Blockchain-based IDs replace passports for travel. Supply chain verification running on rollups coordinates global trade, etc., etc. And then, as if by magic, the legacy powers will just slowly be rendered obsolete. Back to the novel, though. Because Carbon Coin runs on a blockchain, it kills the concept of tax havens, allows the tracking of wealth, and leads to social pressure for companies to decrease the gap between lowest and highest earners to something resembling the U.S. Navy, where admirals only earn 8 times that of new recruits. With money now all blockchain-based, many countries use the tech to instigate universal basic income, something that people are slowly starting to realize is going to be a necessity in a world where we need to shut down huge industries like fossil fuel extraction. Not everywhere will be able to afford to provide UBI, and even among those receiving it, presumably a lot of people will still want to do something productive. Luckily, the whole basis of the carbon coin is carbon capture, so one way anyone on the planet can earn it is by planting trees, meaning even the poorest people can earn some. And there is so much incentive to capture more carbon that we avert the worst-case scenario of climate change. It's basically my ideal what it means if we win scenario. I'm not really in crypto to get rich. I'm here because that's the future I want. I want a decentralized economy and a society that is capable of coordinating sufficiently to survive the global threat we're facing. Because without that, then everything else you might want to acquire is going to be worthless. There is a long way to go before we get there, and there's plenty of hurdles on the road ahead, but I believe there's at least a possibility of bringing it about. Well, if you want to keep going down the rabbit hole, I also recommend the Bankless and GreenPilled podcast episodes on Moloch. Kevin Owocki and others are currently focused on this with this GreenPill project. There's lots of other interesting people in the community building towards this bigger goal. Carl Flourish of Optimism is worth listening to on the GreenPill podcast. Their roll-up is planning to use the transaction fees and MEV generated as a method of funding public goods. Rune from Maker is advocating that they move their project DeFi Llama towards clean money, and the Proof of Humanity team are already operating a UBI scheme as well as the Sybil resistance tool they have developed. ClimaDAO has recently passed 16 million tons worth of carbon credits locked. And of course, Gitcoin is building the quadratic tools that this solarpunk future will need. This is the real promise of crypto. It's a real chance to change the way civilization functions, giving us at least a shot at avoiding the great filter. Thank you, Minimal Gravitas. Indeed, this is what winning looks like. You know what else winning looks like? Sharing this and other content from GreenPilled to the regen world we are building. Follow us on Twitter at GreenPilledNet and find all our socials and more at greenpill.network. On behalf of GreenPill, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.